Welcome to the Practical Tips channel. I'm Matt, your host, providing practical tips to make your life better. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more tips. Today we're going to be talking about avoiding cars with a salvage title. All right, why do we want to talk about this, and what is a salvage title anyway? Well, I'm including this as a practical tip because this is a good way to lose your money if you buy a car with a salvage title, especially unknowingly. So what is a car with a salvage title? Well, it varies a little bit by state as far as the actual official definition in each state. But normally the vehicle has been totaled by an insurance company, which means they found that it was not economically or financially practical to repair the vehicle after it was in some sort of a wreck or an accident. This can also, by the way, include cars that have been in floods. Okay, so if you're looking to buy a used car in an area of the country where flooding is common, or perhaps you've just recently, your area has just recently recovered from a catastrophic flood, then you really want to watch out if you're trying to buy a used car in that area. A lot of the typical condition of the car includes things like the airbags have been deployed, there's severe damage. Flood damage may be somewhat hidden. Usually you can find some staining or some mud. One key trick that you can look for that people ignore sometimes or overlook is the seat belts. If you have a car that has been flooded, they may clean the thing up, but oftentimes they forget the seat belt. So what you normally would do is you get inside the car and make sure that you look at one of these seat belts that's not a center passenger seat belt, but an outside passenger. So the driver's seat would be a fine place to check. And you take the seat belt and you pull the seat belt all the way out. And when you see that, once it's all the way out, you look and see, is this seat belt, is it stained? Is there mold, mildew, some kind of a black stain, mud? What's on it? If you see those kind of things, that car may very well have been in a flood. Probably want to avoid buying that one. Salvage title car probably is not safe to drive. It may not look like it, but there could be serious hidden damage to the frame or the unibody, which is not obvious to the casual observer. Some owners or scammers may be trying to recover their costs or defraud a buyer, just get the thing off of their hands and scam you. Most states do require the seller of the vehicle to notify the buyer that the car is a salvaged title vehicle. Okay, so they should be telling you that. If they're not, then you have a problem. If you find an online car that seems to be too good to be true, especially in terms of price and mileage, it may be a salvage title car. Price may be very low for the miles that are on the car, or the car may have very low miles for the year of car that it is. So, for example, in the United States, it's fairly typical. Usually cars here, with the way that people commute, at least 12,000 to sometimes 15,000 miles a year on average. 12,000, I think, is a pretty good figure to use if you're shopping for a used car. And you look at the ad, whether it's online on a website or a newspaper, and check the mileage. Just do the math on how old the car is and divide the miles, the number of years. If it seems like a car has really low mileage for a year, if you ran across something, a 15-year-old car, and it's got like 10,000 miles on it or something, you want to be kind of concerned there's something going on there. What are the consequences on a salvage title car? Well, let's talk about a few things. First of all, it's not going to be financed by a bank. Normally, you're going to need a VIN number to go to a bank or other financial institution to get a loan if you're going to buy it, whether it's new or used. In this case, we're talking about a used car, obviously, so you may have to go ahead and pay cash, but the bank is not going to finance it, because once you have the VIN number, the bank will check that VIN number and they will tell you whether or not they're going to finance this car, and they can tell you too with that check whether it's salvage or not. In some cases, if you have a really good financial institution that you work with, especially if you're on good terms, do this kind of transaction regularly, they are going to know, and you can probably rely on them to check and find out that it's a salvage title, maybe even before you have a chance to look at the car. The other thing is the salvage title cannot be insured. There might be some slim chance if it was drivable, you might somewhere get liability, but that's pretty unlikely. And realistically, the salvage title car should probably only be used for parts, and it really should go to a auto recycler's facility. So now, question, can a salvage title vehicle be repaired or restored? Yes, it could, but normally it is not usually worth the cost. It's very prohibitive. This is why the insurance company totaled the car in the first place. You can look on my channel, of course, and see that there is another video on cars that have been totaled and what exactly that means and what's involved and how to deal with that if that happens to your car. So that's another video I recommend you check. Normally, a salvage title car is not worth the cost to repair, and even if you do, it has to be inspected by your state motor vehicle department for roadworthiness, and you normally have to do that with a particular inspector. I know where I live, there are very few inspectors employed by the state who are qualified to perform that inspection, and you have to bring in your records of repair, you have to show what parts and everything have been replaced, you got to have all the receipts, so it's an involved process, and you're not going to pull the wool over the eyes of the inspector either. So there's no reason to count on that. And the inspector, they will charge a fee, and you have to make an appointment because those people don't work, just regular office hours behind a desk. That's not what those folks do. So it's usually not possible or practical to repair or restore a salvage title car. So in conclusion, then, what are your best practices about salvage title cars? What should you and should you not do? First of all, avoid salvage title cars as much as you can. If you are searching online for a used car, try and use websites that allow you to check the title status of the vehicle as part of the search criteria. Site that does this pretty well, of course, is Craigslist, and I've used that site for quite a bit. This is not an official endorsement, and they're not paying me to say anything about them, but they are one that does have the title criteria as one of their search criteria on their site. So that's a good thing to be able to use. Of course, in any used car transaction, especially when you're buying from a private owner, you definitely want to have a look at the title before you conclude your transaction and any money exchanges hands. You always want to ask to see that title, and you might even do that at a used car dealer. Car dealers are known for some shady practices too, so it's entirely possible. Look and see. Just look at the title. They may not let you handle it, put your hands on it, but at least ask to have a look at it and see if it says anything on there about being salvaged. There will be usually a stamp of some kind on there if the car is a salvage title car. There's requirements from the state on these types of things. So the idea is the state's trying to protect the consumer from getting ripped off by some shady character. So you should be able to tell one way or another this is a salvage title car. Sometimes, rare occasions, you'll have a guy who's selling a car online, used car, salvage title, and he just is very upfront about it in the description of the car that you can read on the website ad, and it'll just say, yeah, it's a salvage title car, and I'm selling this for parts only or something like that. And in that case, he's being open and honest, and if you just need parts, you're fine. But I wouldn't buy the car for the car because it's salvage. So, and these are the kind of things where it's a consumer protection kind of thing, and you really want to watch it. You don't want to lose your money on something that can't, legally get use out of a vehicle that, even if it's drivable in some sense, is impossible to insure or get financed, and really legally has no business being on the road. So, because all these things these days, everything's recorded. If a car is in a serious enough accident to get totaled, everything, the insurance company has a record of that. The state government has a record of it. If it was ever taken to an auto recycling yard, the auto recycler has a record of it, quite probably. They've all got, the VIN numbers documented somewhere. So it's just better not to get involved with these things and learn how to be real careful about shopping for a used vehicle. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching another Practical Tips video. For more practical tips, be sure to click the like button and subscribe.